Good afternoon. Happy Savage Saturday, Keepers of the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and we are here with Savage Saturday Comic Review, episode 86. And today we are bringing you a tale of Solomon Kane. Well, part one of a tale of Solomon Kane. And we will do part one this week, part two next week. And this takes place in issue 53 of Savage Sotaconian and then 54. So we are going to crack this baby open and give you a little bit about Solomon Kane, which is probably one of the best creations of Robert E. Howard. Criminally underrated character. Fantastic stories. All the savage brutality and compassion and stuff you want in a story. It's just all there, summed up in one character. Alright, and again, he's a man on a mission. So we're going to get to the back and we are going to start this tale. So we have... Alright, so first we're going to show you this nice little spread right here. Look at that. How fantastic is that? We'll give you the little synopsis of Solomon Kane since they took the time to write it out so nicely. It says, born around 1530 and reared as an Orthodox Puritan, Solomon Kane began to roam the world while still a youth, perhaps to escape the then prevalent persecution of the Puritans by the Tudor rulers of England. In time, he wandered to Africa, where he encountered a race of vampires. Later, after near brush with cannibals, the return of Sir Richard Grenville, he came upon a strangely deserted village to begin perhaps his most eerie adventure of all. Alright, and this brings us to the tale, Wings in the Night, as adapted from the Robert E. Howard story, which is a great read, which I've read many times. And you can always read a Solomon Kane story and just have a fantastic time. So Solomon Kane has come across this village, and it's nothing but decimation, right? There's bodies everywhere and skeletons, and he's like, mystery spreads before the cold light eyes of Solomon Kane. It was neither famine nor Arab slave raiders, but a tribal war that must have devastated this African village, driving away the inhabitants. But why did the slayers leave the spoils, the war spears, the shields, the cooking pots, the gaudily painted necklaces? And he's trying to solve this mystery. He doesn't usually come across this much carnage without things being taken. And when he looks at the huts, he sees that the huts have scratches on them as if claws from creatures. And then he finds something completely odd, really strange. And it says, just outside the village, a gigantic baobab tree. Branches for 60 feet, its mighty bole too large to be gripped and scaled. Oh, branchless for 60 feet, sorry. He goes, yet in the topmost branches dangles a human skeleton. So it begs the question, how did that skeleton get so high up in the air to be dropped down on that branch and suspended there? And this is the mystery that Solomon Kane has got to solve. So he continues on, and he's just got an eerie sense about him that the place isn't right. And he's also in cannibal country, so he had just escaped running from them. He's already tired. He's already on edge. He doesn't know if the cannibals are catching up with him. So he goes, how came those pitiful remains in that tree? Did some monstrous ogre's inhuman hand fling them there? Kane shrugs his broad shoulders, then sweeps the village with his searching gaze. And then he shifts the juju staff that he has, that he got from Anlanga, and he is on his way. It helps ward off evil, and as he's walking, he's remembering his flight from the cannibals who were pursuing him and how he lost them. But as Kane's walking through the forest, he hears a scream, just something grotesque, in pain, and then he catches a glimpse among the trees that makes his heart leap with a sudden nameless horror. And as he rounds the bend, he sees this poor guy just bound to this tree. He more resembles a zombie now. He's been eaten away so much, but yet still alive. And Solomon Kane yells out to him, listen, do not fear me. I will not harm you. But the man's kind of delirious, and he's just choking out incoherent words. And but he does say Goru, a priest who had bound him to this tree. And then to Kane's horror, he speaks of his brother. That's who this Goru is, who aided in his binding. Solomon Kane frees him, and the guy collapses. And then they hear wings, and this scares this man. He's like, they come again. Ah, mercy, the wings, the wings, the wings. And blood bursting and a torrent from his lips, so he dies. And Solomon Kane buries the poor guy, and they describe him as a red ruin covered by rocks by Solomon Kane so that nothing can disturb his sleep. And as Solomon Kane is making his way through this dense jungle, he is attacked by a cannibal. And it says, "So, man-eater, still you hunt me down." And we'll show you those 2 pages of which I was just talking about. The art, the poor guy is horrific. He's been torn asunder. He was barely alive when Kane found him, scared out of his mind, only to collapse to his death and to be buried by Solomon Kane, who has a respect for the dead and for those who are in dire straits. He is always a protector of the innocent, and now he is here facing off with this cannibal. So the cannibal caught Kane by surprise, and he meets him chest to chest, and they fall to the ground. And he had the sharpened teeth. He looks savage. He looks mean. He looks ready to devour Solomon Kane, right? Kane throws his arm up, clutches the guy's wrist that has the dagger in it, and then he's able to reverse it and drive his own dagger in the guy's forearm. But before Kane can finish the job, a whirl of wings sweeps by, stuns Kane, knocks him down, and the cannibal is carried off by this creature that Solomon Kane has never seen before. And he says it here, "But in the next instant, Kane is stunned by a sudden savage rush and beat of mighty wings, which dash him to the earth and tear from his grip the cannibal, who seemingly vanishes with a scream of mortal agony. The savage's dwindling yells sound faintly and from above him. And as straining, Kane thinks to glimpse a shapeless and horrific thing crossing the dim stars, in which the writhing limbs of a human mingle namelessly with great wings in a shadowy shape. But so quickly it is gone that he cannot be sure." So now the horror stage is set. The cannibal he was fighting has been whisked away by this winged creature and is being devoured. Kane must sleep though. So he wanders through the village. He wanders through this dense forest, finds a tree that he can hole up in, and so if something's coming from above, it'll have to go through the branches to get him, which will wake him up. If something's coming from the below, he'll hear the scramble of up the tree. The only thing you'll have to worry about is serpents and leopards, and he says he's taken that chance 1,000 times. But let's take a look at these 2 pages. Lots of great story there. Lots of great art. And again, this is David Wenzel art, Don Glutz adaptation. So just both of them doing a stellar job here. Then as we turn the page, Solomon Kane thinks he's having this dream of this winged creature sitting next to him, staring at him. And he wakes up all of a sudden and there's nothing around him. He goes, "It must have just been a dream." So Kane strains his ears, hearing the sign of the night wind, the whisper of the leaves, the faraway roaring of a lion, but not else. Again, Solomon sleeps. While high above him, a shadow wheels against the stars, circling again and again as a vulture circles a dying wolf. So he is being watched. He awakes in the morning and he's off, only to be attacked in broad daylight by one of these winged creatures. And Kane puts it down with a pellet from his pistol. Just great setup, great action. Solomon Kane with his pistol, one shot, splits its breast and buries the lead in there. The creature falls and then Kane inspects it. He's looking at the leathery wings and he's like, "The most curious feature of this curious creature is on its back. The wings are like leather to his touch." Kane steps back, still surveying the thing. Then his dream was no dream at all. This foul thing, or another like it, did in grisly reality light in the tree beside him. And then he senses another one. He goes, even as Kane turns, he realizes that he has committed the jungle farer's unpardonable crime. He has allowed his astonishment and curiosity to throw him off guard. And this creature has Kane in its clutches and is carrying him skyward. But Kane drops his sword, but still has his dagger on him, and stabs the creature to death mid-air. And our story ends with them plummeting towards what could be both of their deaths. But we know that's not. There's a part 2, which we'll review next week, which is also very awesome. And this leaves our hero in peril. Will he survive? Of course he will. But what are the stakes of his survival? What's going to happen to him? Find out next week in Savage Saturday Comic Review 87. But this has been Savage Saturday Comic Review 86. I hope you guys enjoyed this tale of Solomon Kane. Again, another great creation of Robert E. Howard's. Great adaptation by Don Glut. Great art by David Wenzel. And I hope I'm not miscrediting that. Yeah, okay, I was right. Don Glut and David Wenzel. Don Glut does some great Solomon Kane adaptations in these Savage Sword of Conan books. They are just fantastic. David Wenzel does a lot of art for him, and his style is really good with Solomon Kane. So great storytelling, great art. Overall, I give that story an A. The art is an A. The setup, to see what happens, we'll give it an A+, because after you read that, you got to know how Solomon Kane survives it, and you got to know what these winged creatures are. Why are there so many dead around? And what is the solve of that for Kane? What does he got to do? Because his main goal is to abolish evil whenever he comes across it, no matter where he comes across it. And there's a great evil afoot, and Solomon Kane must deal with it. But tune in next week for the conclusion, and until next time, keep it casual. Attention all, use channel sponsor Rogue Trader at theroguetraderutah.com and my code KEEPITCASUAL for 10% off your comic cleaning and pressing needs. Remember, when submitting your books to be graded, use a trusted professional.